What is a little bombshell your therapist dropped in one of your sessions that completely changed your outlook? Stop trying to get everyone to agree when you need everyone to agree. The least agreeable person has all the power. Really changed my outlook on planning family events. Don't think of the relationship as over. Think of it as complete. Fundamentally changed how I was processing a tough breakup. So helpful. I've never really had friends. I've had colleagues and classmates and housemates and people who have hung out with me, but I never really felt close to any of them. And I did that thing you see on here sometimes. I stopped reaching out to see if I would be reached out to, and I wasn't, which I took as confirmation that they didn't really want me around, or at the very least, that they wouldn't mind my absence. I was talking to my therapist about people I'd been close to in college, and she told me to pick one and talk about him. So I did, and after I shared some basic stuff like his name and his major etc., and a couple anecdotes, she asked me what else I knew about him. And I couldn't answer. It wasn't really a broadly applicable bombshell, but she said, "What else?" And I started crying because I realized that for as simple as the question was, my inability to answer spoke volumes. I've never had good friends because I've never been a good friend. I'm withdrawn and reserved, and I always made others do the work to drag me out, without ever extending my own friendship in a meaningful way in return. If I wanted to have meaningful relationships with other people, I would have to build them. I'm still working on this, but I'm trying to make more offers and extend more friendliness to others in my daily life. Edit. Several comments have asked me what specifically I've changed, and I have two answers. One is to put myself in a position to find people with shared interests. A look at my profile will confirm that I love One Piece, and manga in general. While I'm here, I booked a tour to visit the statues of the characters erected in the artist's home prefecture of Kumamoto. The tour was public, and it ended up being 6 people total. We bonded over our shared love of the material, and at the end of the tour, 2 people, a couple, invited me to join them for dinner afterward. It was the first time I felt like I'd been invited to something because the inviter genuinely wanted to spend more time with me. I was elated. We talked for 3 hours about theories, favorite moments, real-world meanings and effects, and all sorts of things. The second is that I'm making an effort to ask more questions. I tend to talk without stopping when I get on a topic I'm passionate about. So when I catch myself doing that, I try to stop myself naturally and ask the other person for their input, or segue into a more personal topic. I want to learn more about these people so that I can be a better friend to them. I learned about them outside of their favorite arc or quote, and I'm glad I did. How was anger expressed in your household growing up? Were you allowed to show anger? At which point I realized I wasn't allowed to show any negative emotions whatsoever, especially not in reaction to negative emotions from my parents. You are not responsible for your parents' emotional well-being. They are independent adults who have been on this earth for many more years than you. Your mom is never going to be the parent you want or need, so stop expecting her to be and being mad that she isn't. Also, people who are addicts tend to get frozen at the time they started abusing drugs or alcohol, because their focus is their addiction and not developing as a person. So a person who started drinking heavily at 13 and quit at 30 would behave a lot like a 13-year-old. My wife phrased the first one as, adjust your expectations of others based on what they are able to give instead of what you'd want them to give. It's fairer towards them. My counselor said to imagine myself as an orange. Then, consider that not all people like oranges. That doesn't mean that the orange is flawed in any way, not rotten, just that everyone has preferences. That helped ease my insecurities and need for people-pleasing dramatically. If you literally laid down and let people walk all over you, someone would complain that you're not flat enough. For context, I had a major TBI, seizures, strokes, and all around not a fun brain time when I was 28. You have to grieve the loss of yourself. Most people wanted me to go back to how I was. The fucked up truth is that part of my brain is dead. The person everyone, including myself, knew died. I needed to grieve the loss of myself. Am I the only one lurking in the comments for free therapy? Not me. Just a therapist looking for a new great idea. I don't want to take meds because I don't want to rely on drugs to feel okay. Don't you already do that? My therapist in the session before I finally saw a psychiatrist and got officially diagnosed with bipolar 2. I was heavily self-medicating at the time, but of course didn't see it that way because it wasn't a prescription. Will worrying about it change the outcome? If the answer is yes, go ahead and worry about it. I suddenly realized that I couldn't think of a situation where the answer to that question was ever yes. Really short-circuited the worry cycle for me. At the time, I was into getting tarot card readings and seeing psychics. My therapist told me he has psychic clients who come to him ashamed about the excessive amount of lying they do every day. Haven't been to a psychic or tarot card reader since. I have this idea for a movie where a therapist realizes that her clients listen to their psychics more than her, so she pretends to be a psychic and gives her clients sound advice but claims it comes from the stars or the cards or whatever. To be honest, I read an interview, I think it was in National Geographic or something similarly weighty, about a pastor who had lost his faith but he didn't feel comfortable with admitting it to anyone. So he started winding therapeutic and secular advice into his pastoral services and counseling. Accepting something doesn't mean you have to like it. That took away a lot of my inner conflicts about situations because I could accept a situation without expending energy internally fighting against the injustice of it. We judge ourselves by our intentions, and everyone else by their actions. Closely related, the correspondence bias, or fundamental attribution error. We tend to assume others' bad behavior is caused by them being bad people, whereas we justify our own bad behavior by external circumstances that we cannot control. You always talk about not wanting to do to your daughters what your mom did to you. You worry about it so much in every interaction you have ever had with them. But your children are 19 and 21 now. They are happy and healthy and they trust you because you've never abused them in any way. So I just want to validate for you that you really have broken that cycle of violence. You did that. And you should be proud of it. I'm proud of you for it. I was at a high-stress time and I asked her how people live like this. She replied, oftentimes they have cardiac events. She said it as an urging to care for myself as much as possible. This makes me laugh cause I just find very direct replies like this to be so startlingly true and refreshing and needed. But it's nearly always the best advice you can get. I hit my friend with a similar one when she was asking how people manage to keep going when everything is a struggle, and I was like, they don't. They either don't struggle, or they don't keep going. And it's yeah. When we start burning that fuse by being in the wrong mental space environment, it's finite. Emotions are not bad, even the unpleasant ones. They all have an appropriate place. Yes. Mine said negative emotions are the brain's canary in a coal mine, a way to tip you off when something isn't right. Don't shoot the messenger, just ask yourself what is causing them. You are not special. I was having some very strong anxiety at the time, especially in regards to other people. I felt like I was judged everywhere. Like, I couldn't go to the store, take the bus, or even go to a walk because I felt people were judging my every move, how I dressed, how was my hair, how I talked, even how I walked. Every stranger was thinking bad of me. It was scary as hell. I was telling her about this, and how I started avoiding going out, which was a problem because I had to go to college soon. And she looked me straight in the eyes and told me, Naeem, I'm telling you this with all the care of the world, but you are not special. There is nothing that would make me think twice if we crossed in the street. Is harsh, and is exactly what I needed. All the anxiety didn't let me see that until she said it. OFC, she helped me some other ways, but this really changed my life when she said it. I could go to college and be out because of it. This is so common, and it blew my mind too. My therapist called it terminal uniqueness. It also proved effective for my body hate as I realized I am not the main character and am under no obligation to look like a flawless goddess in the background of other people's stories. Is it your anxiety or hers? Drop. Background. I have an overbearing mother who needs to know as much as she can about what I'm doing on my own time to sleep well at night, according to her. She basically treats me like a rebellious kid in a teen movie from the 90s, when I'm an independent, grown-ass woman approaching my mid-30s. At the time my therapist said this, I was 28-ish and panicking about an upcoming business trip. Not the trip itself, but her reaction to me leaving the state for a few days. As I was going down the list of texts I knew she'd bombard me with, my therapist dropped this. She gave me permission to opt out of managing her fears like I had been doing for years. End result. I went on the trip without telling her a thing and have established a few more sanity-preserving boundaries since. Your mother was an absentee mother, so why would you think she would be anything other than an absentee grandmother to your child? It made me lower expectations of the type of relationship my child would have with my mom. So now she's the fun grandma on FaceTime that sends presents but never shows up, and I'm perfectly okay with that. If you don't have these problems with any other person in your life, why do you think you're the problematic person in this one? He said, claim the right to your space in the world. My self-esteem and self-worth was non-existent. I didn't believe I deserved the oxygen I was breathing. He was saying that being a person, being born, gives you the right to exist. You don't have to earn it. You're here, claim your space. Also, your partner should enhance what you like most about yourself. It made dating so much easier. No need to settle for less than that. It was so simple, yet something I hadn't heard before. You didn't deserve that. First session, going over history, talking about how sad I am and how it affects my marriage, and after describing our relationship, the counselor said, "Wow, you're really going through a lot of mental and emotional abuse." WHAT? Honestly, I didn't know it was a thing. She was right. It took me a few years, but I was able to get out. I used to say a lot of things I wanted to do and then follow up with, "But it's hard." My therapist asked me one time how it would feel to say what I wanted to do and then say, "And it's hard." I can't believe I hadn't considered that myself in 4 decades, but man, did it change my mindset on certain things. That my job career is just a way to make money. It's not my life or identity. Took a lot of pressure off me. When you use the words, "I should," you're silently finishing the sentence with, "in order to be worthy of love and respect." Should is a much smaller part of my vocabulary now. Anger is the brain reacting to fear. If you're feeling anger, take a quick pause to ask what you're afraid of. You can't control other people's crazy, but you can control your proximity to their circus. I don't work as a therapist. I'm an ESL, English as a Second Language, teacher in Japan. But my classes are one-on-one, so I do spend a lot of time on consultation and personal conversations. Something I said to a client once seemed to really change his outlook. A lot of my company's clients are focused on learning English for international business, and this man, as many of them are, was concerned about making mistakes and looking like a fool. I asked him if the English speakers he works with sometimes try to speak Japanese, and he said that they do. I asked him if they ever make mistakes, and he said that they do. I asked him to name one, and he couldn't. And I told him that his mistakes will be forgotten too. I have a few. If one of your loved ones had this problem, what would you tell them? Boom! Self-compassion unlocked. Another one is regarding buried traumatic memories. If you buried some shit in the yard, then later thought, "Oh, I wonder what that was," and dig it up, all you're going to find is some shit. Edit. I remembered another great one. Don't wait until you feel like yourself again so you can enjoy the things you used to enjoy. Do the things you used to enjoy until you feel like yourself again. Another one. I've been to a lot of therapy. No parent does a perfect job, so no parent does a complete job. Every adult needs to finish the job of parenting themselves. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.